today?
Me personally?
No, the polar bear. I was asking the polar bear how the polar bear was. How are you
Oh,
today, Ben?
the other people. I'm doing really good. Hey, everybody on the call, do you guys think Via's having a great hair day today? Like, I feel like Via is having a
Oh, thank
phenomenal,
you.
great hair day
Oh,
today. I just, Via,
you're my favorite today, Ben.
oh,
What are
you're,
you preparing me for? I'm a little nervous by that compliment. Did I get nervous? Did I
uh,
be nervous?
the other day, Via, you reached out and you said some of our favorite people in the industry are struggling with something. And I said, what's that? And you said they're struggling on getting listings in this business. And I said, yeah, I'm hearing that. But here's the thing, it's a story of two different worlds. There's one group out there that's actually killing it. And there's another group out there that's really struggling. It could be market by market or your activities or whatever. So I just volunteered and said, Via, let's go live to our brokerages and our tech customers and our friends in the industry, and let's just spend an hour talking about how to bring home the bacon, so to speak. And I obviously love bacon. So the bacon today is we're going to talk about listings, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Ben's right. We do these webinars every Wednesday, and we broadcast them live on a big Facebook group called the Pivot Shift Ahead group, and we do them for our agents and for our guest agents. And this week we invited our Brivity customers and some other friends because there are two problems in this market, Ben. There are two things to talk about, and that's it. And that is getting listings and winning multiple offers if you're a buyer's agent. Nothing else really matters. And I think this really probably ultimately is the thing to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So
Yeah.
if you're listening right now, maybe just go into chat and say, of those two things, which one are you struggling with the most? Getting listings or getting offers accepted, or is it kind of balanced? Yeah, that
Yeah.
we have all the problems. They're all equally divided.
They're all,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a ticker tape of both listings, buyers, but it's more listings in both. I'm not seeing a lot of just buyers.
What is that song? We had 99 problems and listings are all of them.
No, but yes.
You know what I love about doing a call with Via is I give her zero heads up on what I'm going to
Oh,
talk about. If I have a slide deck, what the questions, are we going to do an interview? Like, I don't give her any of that because she's good enough that she doesn't need that. Zero prep, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to get the best and the worst of me and always just the best of Via. I got
so
to
we have
kiss
a
them.
hair compliment and another compliment. I'm really nervous about this next hour.
I got to kiss some butt right now because
Yeah, I'm super nervous.
yeah, because I'm not on Via's great side at the moment because I showed up 14 seconds prior to the call starting.
Actually, after the call started, but
I don't have any green on. Um,
yeah, someone needs to go in and pinch you. I told a whole Facebook group that someone was going to come in and pinch you. I am wearing green. All right, let's dive in.
okay, we have to actually get started. Okay,
Yeah,
Via, with your permission, I'm going to do a little bit of slide sharing for us.
please. Yeah, I made you co-host. It's all yours, my friend.
I don't think that we're going to spend our entire time on it, but it's just kind of a format for us to have a conversation. And I think part of the value of today is not the screen. It's the questions that you ask audience and that Via you ask and dial into the conversation that we're having because now is a time for having very direct and great conversation. So let's just start us off. See everything pretty good now, Via?
Yeah, we can see it generating listings to the next step.
Okay, great. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here in this industry is build a business. And in order to build a business physically, like we're going to build this building, we have to build a foundation. Foundation is what holds up the business. And a lot of agents have gone out there and said, hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of internet leads, or I'm going to buy a bunch of Zillow leads, or whatever that might be. And that's going to be my business. And I actually feel like that's the wrong way. In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, Jay said that it's leads, listings, and leverage. But if you ask them again, he actually would tell you it's listings, that generate leads. And when you have more leads than you can handle, then you hire leverage. So this entire call is really about building a strong business. How do you go through the quadrants that were presented to us in Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki, where we talk about moving from E to SE, SE to B, and B down to the hashtag money symbol. Now, what does that mean? E means your employee. You wake up every single day saying the phrase, I do it. When you are in the SE box, if you're lucky enough to graduate down to that, you wake up every single day saying the phrase via, we do it. And at some point, if you build a big enough business, you transition from the SE box over to the B box. And that's where you wake up every day saying they do it. And you've actually taken steps away from the transaction. Now, the purpose of all this is to generate profit so that we can do good in the world and so that we can make investments and live a great life and have a phenomenal retirement. It's not to live in this cycle, but for the rest of our lives, we have to be writing offers or taking listings or grinding forever. That's not the goal. Our goal is to make investments to give ourselves this long-term life, moving from I to we to they to the last box is, hey, my money is actually working for me. So that's kind of starting my mindset via of what we're talking about. It's about listings that generate leads, and then we need leverage. So no matter where you're at in this equation, let's talk about some of the problems that's happening, as Vija brought up earlier. One is it's hard to get offers accepted. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not too hard to get an offer accepted if it's your listing. It's not, no. It's not too hard to get an offer accepted if you find an off-market property that you can present to your buyer. Like that eliminates all that problem. So if you're really having a hard time getting offers accepted, what would happen if you controlled as much of the inventory as possible? So we're going to talk about a variety of strategies today on how our sales teams around the US and Canada are generating leads and business and the dialogues around that. Doing okay so far, Vija?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, I think there's this big myth, and I hear it in these Facebook mastermind groups. They're asking all these questions like, hey, it's like this big secret where business comes from, and they're looking for this golden thing or this new crappy software, this new thing they can sign up for, or what's the new one, the geofencing. How do I get the geofencing thing? Like, I tell you what, you don't need any of that stuff if you're not doing the pie. Like if you don't do the pie, you don't need anything else, right? So what's the pie? The pie, the lead generation model is how do we work our database, our friends, family, and sphere in such a way that generates business, specifically listing business? How do we work open houses in such a way that generates listing business? How do we work on the phone prospecting for listing business? How do we invest our money online for internet leads for listings? How do we generate additional leads from our listings? And then there's this whole box called other that we're going to talk about today. Now, Vija, other than these things right here, can you think of places that people get listing business that's not a niche like probate or short sale or REO or builders? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually can. And I think my takeaway from this is that, you know, basically the simplified way of saying it is you get listings the same way you get any business. You just focus on getting listings from the sources, right? But the other ways, Ben, I'm hearing a lot of letter writing right now. I'm hearing, postcards, like I said, letter writing. I'm hearing
that'd be like geographic farming in some way.
Yeah, that kind of a thing. You didn't have door knocking on here, but I'm assuming other was door knocking.
Yeah.
You know, sourcing your own inventory for buyers.
Yeah. I would actually, if I could go back really quick and rename open houses, what I really mean is face-to-face. So open house give us the opportunity of being face-to-face with people. Now, door knocking actually does the same exact thing. So sure. Those all work for me. Now, Vija, let's pretend that we have somebody on the call that's currently looking for a honey bunny, somebody that they love. Like they want to fall in love with somebody. Now, we'd recommend that they make a list of what that person looks like, what that person sounds like, what they act like, how they treat people, what their values are. Now, here's why. Because if you do that and you take the time to write a list of what I want in life and what I want in a partner, you're going to recognize them when they walk in front of you. And when you don't take the time to do that, you might have your honey bunny standing in front of you in Starbucks or on the other side of a transaction, or somebody you're working with, and you might not even recognize that the person you've been looking for your entire life is actually standing right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in business, it's the same thing with talent. If you're looking to hire somebody, an admin or a buyer's agent or a listing agent, you need to write down, what do they look like? What do they act like? What do they sound like? What's their experience? How do they treat people? What are their values? What did they do previously? Because you want to be able to recognize them if you run across them. Now, why did I go on this diatribe, this other little chasing a rabbit or whatever? Because I think it's the same thing with listings. If you understand what a good listing looks like or what a seller may sound like, you're going to recognize them when they talk. You're going to understand that there are things that people do that indicate that they have interest in selling. They go to websites to see what their home is worth. They click on the market reports that you're sending out. They put garage sales. They start doing repairs on a home that they hadn't done repairs for a long time. They start giving stuff away. Right? You see that a child graduates and they have nobody at home. They have a baby. Like there's a relationship change coming. Like there's all these
There's
things.
triggers. There's triggers. Yeah.
If you wrote down and said, this is what a potential seller looks like, you might recognize them because they're probably standing right in front of you. Now, I have friends that go to the bathroom and come back with a listing. Now, I don't know how they do it, right? But somehow they run across a listing on their way walking to the restroom. It is super bizarre, but they can't go anywhere without finding business because they know what business looks like, sounds like, right, and acts like.
You just wanted to get a bathroom comment in 15 minutes into the webinar. I know you did. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was pretty early. I want you all to think about that. Are you taking time to recognize what a seller looks like? Now, at the same time, I want you to think about, what does a listing look like? And what does that home look like when you drive by it? Now, I buy a lot of properties, and I met with a group of great agents yesterday, and they said, hey, there's no good deals out there. And I laughed at them. I said, yeah, let me ask you a question. One guy was driving a Tesla. I said, hey, Tesla's a bad example. One guy was driving a GMC truck. I said, does that GMC dealership where you bought that new truck, did they go buy that GMC from another dealership in town, or did they buy it from the factory? They bought it from the factory, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Now, why is it the real estate agents, when they're looking for good deals, they go to the MLS looking for GMCs from another GMC dealership in town? They shouldn't. They should go to the factory. Well, as we're driving around, we should be looking at the factory and seeing, are there homes out there that are visually apparent that we can tell they need to sell, they might be preparing to sell, but they're in an area that sells often. So we direct our activities in the right direction. Hope that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah.
Any takeaways from what I'm saying so far? Throw that in chat. I'm watching the chat stream and you guys type in there like a bunch of
names. Yeah, I started asking everybody where they're getting, when you went through your lead generation model, I asked, where are you guys getting listings? And the overwhelming answer has been our sphere, and past clients. And I think what Ben and I are both saying is, you're probably going to have to open that up and add sources. I mean, that's this pie doesn't just say sphere on it, right? It has different things on there.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of my mindset on how we're building this and how we're doing this. Our sales teams closed just over 6,000 transactions last year, half of which were seller business. So that's a lot of listings closed in 2020, which is a pretty rough pandemic year. So the first thing we have to understand that we needed to have a lead generation model put into place. Now, this is something that I designed when I figured out what is the technology that I was going to build for my businesses. This is the kind of the Brivity product suite map, but I don't want you to pay attention to that. Here's what I want you to pay attention. On the left-hand side of the screen, it says traffic. What that really means is, where are you going to find the people to market to? Are they behind a phone? Are they behind a mailbox? Are they behind a door? Are they behind their social media site? Are they behind a search engine? Where are these people hanging out? The very first step in figuring out your business is figuring out where's your audience hanging out at. Mm-hmm. Now, the next thing is, we have to figure out what is the right content and message that we could say to these people that would get them to take action. Now, an obvious action is, hey, at some point they're going to call us on the phone and they're going to say, hey, Via, come over and sell my house. That does happen sometimes, but people don't normally do that unless they're 100% committed to you or 100% committed to selling, which means you miss out on this massive bucket of people that really would like to take a step closer into the selling process. So I'm trying to develop content and messages that drive people to my IDX site where they can search for homes. Now here's why. A lot of people are kind of motivated to sell because they know they can get top dollar, but they won't sell until they find a replacement. So one of the best things that we can do is get people looking at homes, because they're going to find this home and say, gosh, this is my dream home. This is my dream home. Put my home up for sale, sell it quickly. Instead of you always having the conversation where they say, I would sell, but I don't feel like we can find anything as a replacement. And I'll tell you what, that is an unfounded fear, because there's a massive amount of people right now currently finding replacements. There's a lot of people selling, a lot of people buying. Well, the second one is a branded website. I call that a seller website. You know, when somebody goes to a seller website, they're going to a seller website to see who Via is and what she does for marketing, and what's her pricing plan, and who is her team, and what is her results, and what is her what do other past clients say. So you could actually have a buyer website and a seller website. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But there's also unbranded tools that you can use to direct these people from all these different places into, and that would be a home valuation website. A home valuation website is where people go, they type in their address, we capture their address, and if we're lucky, we capture their name and their email address and additional information, and then we have a lead. What that really is a way to get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm at least curious about selling. Now, once they do any of these things, they land in your CRM, whatever CRM you're using. Now, your CRM could either be a phone book, which gets dust on it, sits in the corner, right? And your kids draw on it, or it could be a tool like a farm that grows things until they're ready to be harvested. And how does it grow it? It sends properties, listing alerts, or it sends market reports, what is active, pending, or sold around that person's address. It allows you to generate a CMA, and then you manage the transactions. This is the technology that you need in place in order to build a big business. Well, as part of that technology, you got to have a system that when you get leads in, it routes them to the right person. Like, for instance, if you have a listing agent, you want all your listing leads to go to your listing agent, not your buyer's agent. You want all your buyer leads to go to your buyer's agents, not your listing agents. And you might want those agents to be notified and an auto plan to automatically get put in place. So make sure you're building out these auto plans and these lead routing rules to make sure your leads are going to the right place. So here's an example of a seller site that we have. And this is, if you want to check it out, it's sellerschallenge.com. Please don't type in your information or my listing agents are going to have to call you. Sellerschallenge.com is a site that I created to market specifically to sellers. In fact, I run ads on the radio that said, hey, take Ben's challenge. Go to sellerschallenge.com to see what your home is worth and to see how fast and for how much we can get your property sold for. I send postcards about it. I run Facebook ads on it. I'm doing Google pay-per-click. We're sending emails out to our database. We're sending people here where they want to figure out, am I the right agent to hire, and what is my marketing plan, which is different than a traditional buyer site, which might just show properties. Now, if you build the right type of buyer sites, you're going to have comps on there where they can go and see what other properties have sold and for how much, because that gets somebody thinking, if my neighbor's house would sell for $389, I would sell mine for $389. And it gets them thinking down this path to where they actually type in their information to get an accurate estimate of what their home is worth, so that they can figure out exactly, is now a great time to sell. Now, these valuation sites that you build, their job is not to tell somebody what their home is worth. Their job is to give them a range and create curiosity so that we can call them. Now, here's the script that I use. I call it my apology script. So let's pretend like you're a seller for a second. Is that okay?
Okay.
So you register on a website. You aren't expecting a call. I'll call you up, and immediately I'm going to say, hi, is this Via?
Yeah.
Via, my name is Ben, and I'm calling to apologize. You had just registered on one of my websites to see what your home is worth. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough information, and we gave you this wide range of what your home is actually worth today, between 400 and 550,000. I didn't know. That's embarrassing. It's as inaccurate as Zillow is. And I was calling to, one, apologize, and two, see if I could help you narrow that down so that you could figure out exactly what your home is worth today. But before I do, I got to ask you a quick question. Were you considering selling, refinancing, or just simply curious about your home's value? And then we would start a dialogue with that person. When you
Can we keep going? Can we keep going a little bit, Ben?
Sure, if you want to.
Because this is what in my experience, yeah, I was just looking. I know it's a really hot market. I'm just looking right now. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste your time.
Awesome. So if we break script for a second, I always think about my 3 goals. Number 1, get an appointment. If I can't get an appointment, number 2, strengthen the relationship and nurture them. Number 3, if none of those things happen, I just want to get a referral to somebody else. So by her saying that, I say, no problem, Via. I understand a lot of people are kind of standing on the lines right now, not knowing what direction to go. Would it help you if I helped you narrow down the price to a more accurate estimate so that in the future you could make a better decision? Now, she's going to say whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Now, if she says, no, honestly, I'm just looking, I don't know. I'll say, great. I don't want to bother you. Just so I don't bother you too often, let me ask you another quick question. If you were to sell, Via, would that be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, or like me, are you leaving in an ambulance or a box someday?
Oh, I think it would be in the next, probably in the next 3 to 5 years. I just
That's
don't know
awesome.
where we go.
You don't know where you would go.
Right.
So then I would role play through and ask some more questions. She just gave me a rabbit to chase. So now I can dive into that and get her talking. Worst case, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I found, Via. A lot of people are like you. They don't know if it's going to be in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. What I have found is that it would be valuable for them to know what was going on in the market. I would like to not bother you, but I would like to see if you'd be interested in receiving market updates about what's going on in your neighborhood. Every time the home goes active, pending, or sold, I'll update you once or twice a month, your choice. Would that be of value to you if you got an update on what was going on in your neighborhood, just by email, nothing too obtrusive? Would that be of value?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
Right. So then I would get her email address. And then before I go, I would go for my 3rd goal, which is to get a referral. Now, Via, I don't know if you know this, but one of your neighbors' homes sold. They had 27 offers on the property. And what that means to me is we have 26 other buyers we need to help get into homes right now. So I know that you're 1, 2, or 3 years out. Let me ask you a question. Have you heard of any other neighbors that have thought about selling that I could connect in with some of these families so that I can help them get moved in before school starts again? And they might say something, they might not. It doesn't matter. When I hang up the phone, I'm going to write them a handwritten note. Via, it's great to talk to you. I set you up on the market reports. Here's my business card. If you ever need anything, anytime, I'm going to mail it out there. I'm going to set them up on the market report. That's going to start nurturing and be all the time. And then what happens, the people raise their hands 6 months later and say, you know what? We didn't think we were ready, but it turns out we're having another kid and now we need another bedroom. So now we got to go down that path. Does that make sense, Via?
Yeah, and before we move on, the reason I kept going with you there, Ben, is that I do feel like a lot of agents stop there and that's the most common objection. I don't want to waste your time. They're upstream in the process, and I kind of knew where you were going to take me. It's interesting though. I haven't done that role play with you, and my script is literally almost identical. I say, Ben, what I find at this stage is that data and information is the most useful thing. And I've had many, many clients thank me just giving him information and just giving him data. And you can kind of sit with it and think about it, and you have that to make future decisions on, to kind of use as a benchmark. So it's a really similar thing.
Exactly. My goal is to build my database, fill my CRM with future sellers. With future sellers. And the only way to do that is to get their information and set them up and start nurturing them with market reports. And I can send mailers and other things to those people going on. So there's a big question out there of how many leads do I actually need? And that's an interesting question because it depends. It depends on where those leads are from. If you had three friends that said, I'm thinking about selling, you might only need 3. If you had home valuation leads only, you might need 20. If you had forced registration, cold, like the cheapest Facebook leads, you might need 100 of them. You're going to have to figure out how many leads it takes you to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop, to get to that listing or get that closing. But that's for you to figure out. So Vija, what I think I would like to talk about for a second, and I don't want to necessarily go off the ones that are on the screen. I want to talk about why are listing leads today not getting closed. And I don't know if you have any answers or thoughts you want to think on it for a second, but I'll give you a few things. One, we allow our sellers in our database to go to Zillow or Redfin to see what their home is worth. And those two places, their job is to steal our clients away and give it to somebody else because we aren't providing, as you said, the data and information. That's one reason. Number two, we don't respond quick enough. Number three, we don't look for buy signs. Not that they're looking to buy, but buying signals, triggers, things like that. We aren't seeing if they're opening up their market reports. We aren't looking at what properties they're visiting. We aren't paying attention to the data that should be visible to you inside your CRM, so that when you call them, we don't make dumb calls, we make smart calls. Another thing is we send a bunch of spammy emails to people and they unsubscribe because they don't want to get that crappy newsletter that you sent out that has nothing to do with them. Like literally the only thing that I send to my database is market reports, listing alerts, and invites to do cool stuff. Like that, to me, that is all that matters. Those things.
That is all that matters, Ben. That is the best thing. I preach this, all our regulars that are here, like they don't want your recipes. They want market data. They want I love our, you know how I feel about our,
yeah.
What do we call them? I don't even know what we call them. I love them. They're the best thing I send.
Another thing I noticed is that we focus on our really cold leads instead of our hot leads. Now you should be using your CRM and tagging people and marking them hot and using statuses and using those sort of things to do. But, an old school way to do it is keep a list of 10 buyers that would write offers today if you had the right property, and keep a list of your 10 hottest sellers today that would list if they found a replacement home or if they got the right price. And then every day you should be focusing on who can I get to the finish line today? Who can I get to list their home today if I match them with the right property, the right buyer, whatever that actually might be. Now, there's lots of reasons why our team doesn't convert listing leads. One of them is they're saying the wrong things on the phone. They're practicing on our leads. They're not having direct conversations. They aren't following up enough. They call a lead once or they text a lead once instead of really being aggressive in the follow-up. They're getting too many leads, so they're getting buried and they actually can't convert any because they're touching 100 leads once instead of 10 leads 100 times. They only email them because they're afraid of the phone. They aren't texting and calling people right away. Remember, emails in general is for losers. Like if you want to lose at a really high level, continue to only email people. If you want to win at a high level, call people immediately and then text them that you called them and then send them an email that you texted and called them. That's what winners do. Losers just sit behind their computer and email people. Now, why is it that our team struggles sometimes if you're running a bigger business? Because we don't inspect what we expect. We tell them to do things or to say things, and we don't take the time to look and see how many calls they made or how many texts they sent or how much talk time they had on the dialer, whatever that might be. Or literally at some point, we've hired the wrong people. I think we could add a lot of things to this list via that we talk about the fiduciary duties. We didn't train them. We didn't coach them. We just threw them a bunch of leads and walked away. And we're all surprised that they didn't get any listings from it. So ask yourself the question, how many leads do you need and where are your leads going to come from? I'm gonna say right in the beginning that you need to have a sphere plan that's super direct and aggressive. So right now, what I'd like to talk about is my sphere follow-up plan, but the conversations I'm having today compared to the conversation I was having a year ago.
Okay.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Our sphere plan is really simple. It's called the steering gear. Now, everybody we know, past clients in our database, sphere, et cetera, gets one call a month. Just one. So at the end of the year, they're getting 12 calls. Everybody in our database gets 2 market reports a month. That's 24 emails plus 12 calls. We're at 36 touches. Everybody gets 1 piece of mail a month. just listed, just sold, postcard, invite, whatever. Just I want them to see me everywhere they go. Social media, we retarget these people so they see us on CNN and Fox News and Nordstrom's and Cabela's and Facebook. Like we follow them around all the time because we're doing kind of advanced retargeting using this Brivity Connect product that we built. And we're messaging them on Facebook and we're liking their things and we're commenting, we're interacting with them socially. And lastly, we're getting face to face with people 3 times a year. Now, a little bit less last year since we actually haven't seen a face in 12 months. But prior to that, we were face to face, belly to belly events or one-on-ones with our best people. You add that all up, Via, that's 63 touches in a year. And I'm going to avoid my normal joke on that. It's a lot of interaction and that's a lot of touches. And people don't forget about you when you spend that much time showing them you care and delivering value. So let's go back to
So Ben, you know what's interesting about that really quick?
Yeah.
When you were 2 slides back and you were saying, why aren't you getting listings? I bit my tongue because I'm like, well, because you don't have mind share. You don't have the relationship. That's why you're not getting listings. You're not upstream enough. So I didn't say anything and I went through it. And that is, there you go, right there. That's how you get mind share. And that's how you get that relationship-based business. Yeah.
I want people to see me everywhere they go. Every website they visit, I want them to be retargeted. Every time they open their mailbox, right? When they open their email, when they look at their texts, when they look at their phone calls, I want them to think that I'm the only real estate professional in this town. Now, there's 2,000 other ones to be literal in my community of only 84,000, which is roughly 2% of the population, which is crazy to me now that I think about it. That's a little ridiculous. However, I want them to think I'm the only one. Now, that's the way you do that. So a year ago, I was a little bit gentler. I would call people and I would use my favorite script. In fact, I got a bunch of my script boxes right here somewhere. I don't know where it's at. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So I got all my favorite scripts. We do these for charity, but I got my favorite script boxes right here. And one of my favorite scripts is, what are your real estate related plans for the year? Hey, just out of curiosity, Via, is all the chaos that's going on or the pandemic or like, has this changed any of your real estate related plans for the year? Now, Via might say yes or no, or she might say, what do you mean? And I say, have you considered selling or buying or investing in real estate during this time? Doesn't matter what she says. I'm starting a conversation. It's not salesy. It's not a Brian Buffini cheesy. I don't have the great accent to pull that off. It's not a, oh, by the way script, you know. It's very direct, a succinct question. What are your real estate related plans for the year? Now, we could all ask that to anybody. We can ask it to strangers. We can ask to our database, our friends. So that's your first script. Now, here's how it's changing today. We're calling people and we're asking for help. Via, sorry to bother you. This has been, we had helped you sell and buy a home a handful of years back. And literally I was calling to ask you a favor. I'm really struggling right now to help a handful of families that I really care about find a home. And they can't find any homes that are on the market. And I'm calling, and I made a promise to them that I was going to call everybody I knew and see if they knew anybody that had considered selling so I could connect those two parties. So I'm keeping my promise today by reaching out to you and asking you if, one, you've thought of selling this year, or two, you know anybody that has. And it's a real honest, sincere conversation. I'm not talking about, hey, I need a listing. I'm talking about connecting a family, a person to a person, and helping them come in a win-win role. And I'm being that conduit in the center. Mm-hmm. And that's a real conversation that we can have. Any thoughts on that, Via?
I think it's fantastic, and I think it's so important, Ben, because it's using the tone of the day. It's a different world that we're in now, and our scripts have to be different. And that to me is coming from service, and it's coming from a place of being of value. And like you said, not being salesy. We have to be careful and not be tone deaf right now with how we're saying things, right? And how we're closing and how we're communicating what we're trying to get. So to me, I like it because it's putting the focus on them, not you.
Yeah, it's an empathetic approach and asking for help. And everybody out there actually wants to help us. We feel good when we help them. Don't deprive your database of helping us in return. Now, the goal is to get all these people that you know in your database. In fact, if you were to join one of my sales teams, the very first thing you'd have to do before day one is you'd have to come up with a list of 200 people that you know with at least one way to contact them. Then we would import them into our CRM, and then you would work them. The reason is if our team requires you to work your sphere, you can't work your sphere if it's not in a CRM. So your first step out there is to get your database in whatever CRM that you use, right? And start organizing it, adding tags, and making it work for you. And then you got to do the hard work, which is calling your sphere, avoiding the cheesy scripts of who do you know that I should know, right? And actually having empathetic, direct conversations and just asking them the simple question, just out of curiosity, have you considered selling any of your properties this year?
Okay, so Ben. Okay, I'm going to stop you here because I get this a lot from people, right? So I know someone pretty well. A lot of our viewers and our listeners know people pretty well. And I think they get a little gun shy because it's like they feel awkward calling him for business because they don't want to feel like they're using him or anything, right? So let's say you and I, well, we are friends, but let's say we're more acquaintances and friends. We're in the same social circle. Let's role play that conversation when you're calling me, because I might think you're calling me to invite me to a group dinner or something, right? So let's role play that.
I'm calling you.
You're calling me. Yeah, you're doing
I
a
don't
database.
really know you.
You know me pretty well, but we haven't actually talked business before.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Via. It's been a little while since we talked. The first thing I would do is I'd ask her how she's doing, like what's new, is there anything we can do to help them, that kind of thing. Then I would pivot and say, hey, the reason for my call today is honestly, Via, I could really use some help. And I would go right into the last script that I just used.
Okay.
I said, we are really here might be a story you can tell people. Right now, I'm kind of running a store, just like Best Buy. And when you walk into Best Buy, and Best Buy has no TVs and no VCRs, that's my age, no DVD players, no computers, no phones, that would be really awkward. Well, I'm running this store right now, and all of our shelves are empty. And my shelves are filled. We used to be filled with homes, but now there's no homes for sale. So I can't help any of these friends and families actually move. So I was calling to ask you a favor. Do you know anybody that had thought about selling or was curious about selling, or even might have sold in the past, that I could reach out to and see if I could help them save some money and connect them to some of these people that are willing to pay top dollar? Now, I've had some people come back to me and say, is now a good time to sell? Do you want to hear my script?
Yeah.
Only if you would like to get a lot over market value. Only if you'd like to sell for over market value. And usually that's exactly what they say. They laugh. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's only a good time to sell if you'd like to get a lot more than your home's worth. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I mean, there's so few homes for sale is that people are willing to overpay for homes. The homes don't even appraise for the amount of money they're selling for, and people are coming to the table with extra cash. So if this is an opportunity for you to take some money off the table and sell for way over market value, then yeah, I guess it's a good time. And I have that fun conversation. Jack up above asked the question, how do you get people's address? Here's what I do. I send them a text or an email that simply says, hi, Via, this is Ben. I was going through my list of people that I sent Christmas cards to, and I realized you were missing. And I wanted to get your address. I don't have your mailing address. And then if I had their mailing address, I would send them a handwritten note that said, hey, Via, I was thinking about calling or texting you the other day. I realized I lost your number. Send me a text. Right. And if all I had was an email, I would say, I was trying to find you. And I realized I don't even have your address to write you a card. And I would just use whatever thing that I had, Facebook or email or phone or call to gather that information.
Yeah. And everybody's asking us, I mean, you guys, like 100%, we're so aware. The big objection right now is they don't know where they would go. Right. And Ben and I did a really great role play at the beginning of this call. Some of you guys hopped on late that you can re-listen to, but we're going to keep talking. We're going to keep going back to that objection, Ben. It comes up over and over on chat, which is like the number one objection right now. I can't sell because I don't know where to go. I just wanted to acknowledge it because it's coming up so much.
Let me handle it then. Here's what I'd say. Here's what I found. For all the people that I have that have needed to successfully, that needed or wanted to sell, I've been able to find them a replacement property. And I can find a way where we only sell your home if we find a suitable replacement. In fact, I'm willing to go above and beyond. So if you told me a little bit about the neighborhoods, areas, and price points you're interested in, I will door knock, mail, and call every home in that area until I find you a suitable home. I will go above and beyond any other agent or anybody else out there to find you a great deal. However, the first step is me coming over, sitting down with you, and talking about how much we could get for your home and how long it would take, or what you would need to do prior to getting your home on the market. Is tomorrow at 3 okay, or should we wait till Wednesday at 5? Now, I had Chad in our Tacoma office yesterday. He said, one of the things I'm advising my clients to do, because they need capital from their home for their down payment or their next one, is they're getting lines of credit on their primary residence so that they have that money to pull out to use as the down payment on their purchase. And then when they purchase something, they put their home on the market, they sell right away, they pay off the line of credit. I thought that was a really creative, Chad Howard, like a approach to doing that. And that's good.
So it's great. It's great. And there could be a 90-day wait to do that right now. So the only caution I would give is the rent back script is also good, because that's a more immediate, depends on what their timing is, but it can be up to 90 days right now to get a HELOC on their house. Ben, you say almost exactly what I say. I would add one thing. And it's just an old fashioned, I think it's probably a Mike Ferry script. And it's typically my bridge when someone says that. And the first thing I say, and I go into a very similar script to you, but I'd say, Ben, let's start with this. If you were going to move, where would you move to? And then I tend to kind of move into that future pacing, trying to understand more what they're trying to seek. And then it's almost identical to yours. I'm going to pound the pavement. We've never not found that replacement property. And it all starts with your current house, getting data, understanding what your net is, what the process looks like, and so on.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you for addressing that. Yeah.
I think here's the gist. Tim, I'm really good at what I do. And I promise you that I will find you an amazing replacement for your property if now's the right time to sell. Yeah. The first step is for us to get together and discuss the process. I talked with some agents yesterday as well, and I said, why don't you get these people out there looking at homes? If they really dream of living somewhere else, go show them some. Because once they see what's out there, they actually might get motivated, and they see that there's available properties for them to do that with. So open houses, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want you to think about that open houses work if you do, and they work for sellers if you understand and know this one simple fact. Most people live somewhere. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever said, but once you truly believe that, once you truly understand that most people live somewhere, and that somewhere either they own or somebody else owns it, right? That you understand that everybody that walks in the door is also a potential seller lead. So when you come into an open house, my script is simple. Via people come into my open houses for one of two reasons. Number one, they're curious what their own home is worth because they're thinking about selling. Or number two, they're thinking about buying. Which one are you? Notice what I started with. I started with the intent that I want the most in my business today. I don't say, oh, what brings you in? Look around. Are you looking for a house? Well, obviously, they're looking for the house. They're either looking to steal underwear, jewelry, and drugs out of the home, or they're looking to buy a house, or they love cookies. Like one of those three things is happening when they visit an open house. Like my guess is most of them are looking for a house. So I need to ask them, the first question is, just out of curiosity, are you curious what your own home is worth? Because you're thinking about selling as well. So we need to be creating this idea in our head that we look for buyers and sellers wherever we go. And we got to have something interesting to offer these people that visit our open houses. And one of the things I love to offer is a would sell list. Now, here's why this is relevant to this conversation. The would sell list is just a list of all the home valuation leads, all the FSBOs, all the expireds, all the coming soon, all the new construction homes, everything that I know of people that would sell in the future if the right buyer came around. So when somebody comes into my open house, I would simply ask them the question, hey, I know that you've been looking at homes and driving around and visiting different places. Has anybody presented to you the opportunity to potentially buy a home that isn't on the market so you don't have to worry about 27 offers that you just complained about? And if not, has anybody ever talked to you about a wood sell list? Would it be worth 10 or 15 minutes of your time this week for us to get together and sit down and go through my wood sell list of people that would sell if the right buyer came around, and talk about some of your price points, needs, desires, and time frame? I have tomorrow at 3 available, or I can potentially meet you Friday at 5 if that works better. Right? We got to be
Can we
coming
just
these
do it right now, Ben? Ben, I'm at the open house and I'm talking to you, and can I just see it right now?
uh, actually not, Via, because I have to be on attentive for the seller that I'm representing today, and I don't have the list with me, but I would like to sit down with you and go through it. Unfortunately, the wood sell list is only available to people that have committed to working with me directly. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the opportunity for us to get into a relationship and allow me to represent you. It takes 10 or 15 minutes at a Starbucks or at my office, or I'm willing to come to your home. Which one of those 3 places would be best for us to meet, and what day and time would you prefer?
Okay, that's great.
I had a guy once call me on the phone. I use sign calls the same way. And he was like, not interested, I just want the price. I just want the price. And I said, hey, just out of curiosity, would you be interested in a good deal? And he's like, and I said, he said, what do you mean? I said, good deal. People that were willing, off market properties, people that were willing to sell at a discount, bank owns, foreclosure, short sales, good deals. He's like, yeah, I want those. And I said, great. Why don't you come meet with me and I'll give you my list of the 5 best priced properties in Bellingham. And he said, can you just email it to me? I said, unfortunately, no, all I have is a paper copy, but I'm willing to meet you at Starbucks, meet at your house. You can come to my office. He said, I'll come to the office. So he comes to the office, pulls up out front, starts honking the freaking horn like I'm delivering milkshakes. I walk out, he rolls down the window this far. I slip it through there like I'm cashing a freaking check. He takes the list and drives away. Well, he drives by some properties. 2 days later, he calls me and said, hey, I want to apologize. I came in the other day and I honked the horn at you. And you gave me a couple more properties and I want to see some more. And I said, yeah, but next time you're coming to my office, you're going to sit down and we're going to have a talk to each other like we're humans. No more honking the horn at me. I don't sell milkshakes. And he laughed. And I said, all right. Well, the next time I sold him a house. I was willing to
love
make
that
him
story.
come to me, right? I took control of the situation. So prospecting, how do we find business today? If you're having a hard time finding properties for your buyers or finding sellers, you can either sit around and stare at your phone and hope somebody swipes left or right and calls you to sell the property, or you can take it into your own hands and you can actually pick up the phone and make it happen. What am I talking about? Canceled expireds, circle prospecting, for sale by owners, list of vacant homes, homes that are in default, call around just solds or just listeds, call your home valuation list. There's lots of places that you can call. You might say, hey, there's not a lot of canceled expired now. Yeah, but there's 5 or 10 years of old ones you can reach out to. There's still currently FSBOs. There's rentbos, people that posted their home for rent currently. You can call them and ask them if they consider selling. You have to be willing to pick up the phone and call them. Go ahead, Via.
I was just going to add, this is a great list. And I think if anyone's going to screenshot something, this is a quick go-to list. I want to go to circle prospecting number 1. All of those letters, and we did a webinar, Ben, Hattie, I'll have to post the link, the one with Bentley and Sue Adler, talking about how to source off-market properties. And one of our agents, Bentley Pugh, literally sends offer letters around to sellers. And I remember thinking, there's no way that would work in our market because people know they can get 20 offers. It's not going to work. Guess who I just lost a listing to, Ben? She took an offer from Bentley Pugh.
Yeah.
$1.5 million home. And I was like, well, I'm not going to. So those letters work. Source the kind of neighborhood circle prospecting letters when you have an investor or a buyer who knows their price point, they know their neighborhood. Don't be shy, putting personal information that's not going to give away privacy data, right?
Our team is doing a call day this month where we have 100 agents agreed to call 1,000 people in a day. So we are going to call 100,000 people in one day, not 999 each. We're all going to call 1,000 people in one day.
Wow.
We're going to make 1,000 dials with 100 agents and see how much business that drums up in one day, because the secret to success is increasing your activity. It's not waiting for people to call us. Now, I don't put leads in my I don't put lists in my CRM. I don't puke in my database. I only put people in there that want to hear from me, that are willing to take a market report, a listing alert, or get follow-up or register on one of my sites. So just be careful that you don't do that. We only add nurtures or people that want appointments today in our CRM. Now, next piece is online lead generation. So I want to go through this kind of quickly and talk about some of the things you can do today that other people aren't doing. Number one, you need to think about your internet lead approach as a holistic approach. You're actually trying to build a system. You're trying to connect with people over a period of time to really make sure that they think you're the only agent out there. You do that through paid ads, paid Facebook ads. Those are all simple things you could do yourself or you could hire a company to do. But here's our process. We run active property ads, sold ads, home value ads, geo-targeted ads, Sphere to retarget to the people in your database, past clients to the people that you've sold homes to, and old leads that you generated in other systems. We retarget all those people. We retarget them by showing them similar properties in Facebook that they've looked at. And as they look at properties, I change what they're looking at. And then when they leave and they go to some other website, CNN, Fox News, Nordstrom's, Cabela's, any of those places, I show them a banner ad with Vija's face that says sell with me or buy with me or whatever their intent is. And I show it in squares and rectangles, no matter where they go, they're going to see Vija. I'm going to follow them around with Vija's picture no matter where they go through the internet. When they click on it, I'm going to drive them back to their website. So they're back searching for properties and seeing what their home is worth. And we're continually reconnecting with them. Now, once they've registered, we're also sending them market reports and listing alerts. We've set them up on his auto plan. Our agents are calling, texting, emailing, and reaching out to them, peeking through the window, knocking on their door, dropping off things, mailing, that kind of stuff. All those things are in place. That is a holistic approach to generating business from the internet. You need to make sure that every lead that has an address has a market report. Every lead that has an intent of buying has a listing alert. If you just did those two things, you would double your business and double your production. Now, once you generate listings, there's ways to generate more listings and more leads from that. It's simply by leveraging sign calls. Put a call capture up there. We use it quickly. So you text Ben Kinney to 59559 and we send a whole list of properties around their phone. But you can do other things like text value to 59559 and it sends back your home valuation page. There's lots of strategies that you can do to convert drive-bys and flyer picker-uppers into actual leads. Once you have listings, you can also, as Vija talked about, mail the crap out of them. Like you take a listing, mail out a just listed. When you sell it, mail out a just sold. If you represented the buyer in that neighborhood, send out a just sold. If you didn't represent anybody, send them out a whole bunch of stats of everything that's sold. They're just going to assume that you represented all of those people. You want them to think that you are the only agent in town. This is like the old Jay-Z song. We should have ran this one. Run this town, Vija. That would have been great. You ever remember that?
We can't. We have to do copyright-free music because we've hit the big time and we get in trouble, Ben.
Okay,
that's what happens. I know.
All right. So there's these other sources where you can generate listing business today. Mass media, print, builders, classes. Sue Adler's doing great at running like online Zoom calls for classes for sellers. You can hire an ISA or a virtual assistant to prospect and do all these sort of things. Lots of ways to do it. Probate, REO, short sales, and there's a million ways to do it. I just found that 80% of the business comes from the sources that I talked about already, doing it consistently, doing it the right way, and saying the right things. Now, once you get to this point where you're running a really strong listing business, you're generating a lot of listing leads, you're going to need a pre-listing package. You're going to need a listing presentation that works. You're going to need to have a pricing strategy, and you're going to need to have a plan for how to market those properties effectively, because getting the lead is one thing, getting the door is another. Converting from the appointment to the actual signed agreement, right? That's a whole nother level that we could talk about. So I thought there's a link in chat that if you guys would like a copy of my listing presentation where you can edit it yourself, then go there, follow the link, and we will send out a PowerPoint of a listing presentation where you can actually modify it yourself and follow through the different steps that I figured out on what you need to say in your listing presentation, like the 4 reasons to determine if a property will or will not sell in this market, how it's priced, how it shows, how it's marketed, and so on. So you'll get this ability to go and edit this and make this your own. It's my gift to you all today. If you're excited about any of these technologies or other stuff, then you can always reach out to us at Brivity as well. What did I miss, Vija?
You didn't miss anything. That was fantastic. I want to kind of wrap this up with a bow, though, if that's okay. Number one, all of the resources we talked about today, Ben, we were uploading in real time to Ben Kinney Agent Training. Patty and Mikey have been working hard behind the scenes today. We're going to upload that listing presentation, which, by the way, Ryan Gregg did in its entirety with me on Role Play a couple of weeks ago. It was fantastic. Here's, I guess, how I'd like to wrap this up. We did a nice aerial overview today, and every single one of those subtopics is its own webinar. You know, you could do a whole webinar on sign calls, a whole webinar on pre-listing presentations. And that, Ben, is exactly what our Wednesday webinars are, right? All they are thin slices of different parts of the process where we just give highly tactical things, and we bring in experts from all around the country. I have webinars planned for the next 6 weeks on thin slice topics like this: how to win in multiple offers, what specifically people are doing on the buy side. On the list side, Ben, we've got Vanessa Pollock and Chris Craddock coming on next week. And we keep going down the line and doing that. So I can't stress enough, if you like what you heard today, if you want to learn more, if you want to kind of drill down, register to get on our list, benkinneyagenttraining.com, and we freely give away our resources. It's just what we do around here. So thank you.
Is it Ben Kinney Training or Ben Kinney Agent?
Nope, it's benkinneyagenttraining.com.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun, Vija. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And you guys, please join me in thanking Ben. He is our founder and our CEO. He has over 80 companies that he runs, and he came and spent an hour with us today. We are really grateful for you, Ben. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
See you next week. Bye-bye.